Welcome everyone to another IDW Sonic review, and today we're going to take a look at A Very Chaotix Halloween. I believe this is the first Halloween special for this continuity. IDW Sonic has dabbled into some scary situations before. Some notable examples include certain portions of the Metal Virus saga, and most of the Scrapnik Island miniseries. In the latter's case, it even started in October of 2022. But here, we're doing a proper Halloween outing. This should be interesting. For one, the fact that Sonic's World celebrates the holiday is charming, and two, compared to the examples I've given earlier, this will be a more lighthearted outing. I mean, come on, it features the Chaotix. While they have been in some serious situations before, they're ultimately fun-loving guys who solve cases and wouldn't mind getting paid the big bucks. So let's dive right into this tale, and spoilers from this point forward. We begin with Vector the Frankenstein monster telling Charmy to hurry up with getting ready. If they don't head out in a timely manner, they're not going to get all the good candy. SBO the Mummy reminds him that it's Charmy's night for trick-or-treating. Vector, though, was kinda hoping they would get a commission in the form of full-size bars. He claims to be kidding, but I can tell you now, he's not. Just as Charmy the vampire is ready to go, there's a knock on the door. Vector sees a little girl outside and thinks it's a trick-or-treater. She's not here for candy though. In fact, she came to the detective agency because someone stole her candy. She tells her story about how earlier, she and her friends were walking along the edge of a forest when a kid dressed up as a vampire named Herschel appeared. He claimed to know about a shortcut that led to houses where they're giving away full bars of candy. However, when they got deeper into the woods, Herschel disappeared, and soon after, a monster showed up and stole their candy. Vector doesn't blame the girl for following Herschel into a trap, and Charmy vows to get the candy back. Yes, the Bee's willing to sacrifice his trick-or-treating night to solve this mystery. With the girl pointing out the monster's location on a map, the Chaotix are on the case. Meanwhile, Sonic and Tails are flying into town to do some trick-or-treating of their own when they spot the Chaotix approaching the forest. They meet up, and after the Chaotix explain about their current case, Sonic thinks it might be a better idea if he and Tails were to tag along and help them deal with this monster. And Vector's all like, the more the merrier. As the group enter the forest, a couple of kids come running out screaming about the monster. Vector and SBO begin discussing their next move, but that won't be necessary as Tails used the Miles Electric to determine the general location of the screams. And it's in that direction the group goes. Sonic asks what kind of clues they're looking for, and Vector says it often varies. They might be looking for footprints, a tooth, or even hair. Sonic then zips around the forest quickly until he finds something clue-worthy, a ripped trick-or-treat bag. The others catch up and examine the surrounding area, with Charmy and SBO noticing a trail of candy. They follow it until they hear some voices up ahead. It's Herschel leading more trick-or-treaters to the location of the monster. Thankfully, Charmy interrupts the meeting and starts chasing the guy down. Vector and Tails stay behind to make sure the kids are alright, while Sonic and SBO head onward. Sonic catches up to Charmy just in time to corner Herschel. That's when the monster ambushes Sonic. Charmy screaming has Vector and Tails bolt towards their location. The approaching Vector yells at Charmy to utilize Offensive Maneuver Triple B, which involves Charmy causing a distraction and Vector tackling the target. The crocodile's not happy as he confesses with his breath attack that he loves Halloween. Before he really goes to town on the monster, Charmy stops him. Turns out the monster is just a group of kids in disguise. That doesn't stop them from being a headache to the heroes, but one by one, the kids are either cornered, grabbed, bagged, and in the case of Herschel, getting roped by Cowboy Tails. The kids try to weasel their way out of the situation, even offering a portion of the candy in one case. Speaking of candy, Charmy discovers the kids' stolen stash, and it's massive. That's when the kids get upset. Their elaborate scheme to get as much candy as possible is ruined, and they have been planning this for a long time as the kid in the construction getup, Rowdy, said it took him a year to make the robot arms. He believes Sonic, Tails, and the Chaotix will be keeping the candy for themselves. Apparently these kids aren't aware of who they're actually dealing with. Sonic explains that the candy is meant for all the kids in town, and what Herschel's crew did is Eggman levels of selfishness. You're really going there, Sonic. The discovery of a giant rock candy helps point out how wrong Herschel's gang were. And yes, it is a giant rock candy and not some new mystical gem made for the series. The person they stole it from probably had plans to break it up for the trick-or-treaters. Plans that were ruined when the kids stole it. And that's when the kids finally understand that in their excitement for Halloween, they have gone a bit too far. With the situation resolved and the night still young, the Chaotix, along with Sonic, Tails, and Herschel's group, head back into town to pass out the recovered candy to all the kids. And I do mean all of them. Charmy's a bit bummed that he never got a chance to go trick-or-treating for some candy. But Tails informs him that based on the amount of candy they found, there is enough to fill half a pillowcase for each child, plus plenty of leftovers for a candy givers here. So for this Halloween, everyone wins. This marks the IDW Sonic debut of writer Mark Bouchard. From what I could find, they're relatively new to the scene with their first graphic novella, It Took Luke, coming out in 2021. Keep in mind, IDW Sonic was in its 4th year at the time. So yeah, Mark tends to stick to the horror genre, but also loves comedy, and it really shows in this Halloween special. At the time of recording, I don't know how they got involved with IDW Sonic in general. Couldn't find interviews and the like. What I did find was a tweet of them saying they loved the Chaotix and it was a dream come true to write about them. So as far as I know, they're another Sonic fan that just hopped on board when asked to do something for the IDW comics. On to the story itself, I do like how the Chaotix were portrayed at the beginning. They are more than just a detective agency, they're a family. IDW Sonic in general really emphasizes that aspect, and it's no different here. Prior to the plot kicking off, we're just witnessing two parental figures getting ready to take their hyperactive kid out for trick-or-treating. Charmy himself is not that bad here. He's willing to sacrifice his own happiness to make sure others get theirs. It shows that he has a good heart, and the situation is more on his level, being a child himself after all. And he gets a reward for it at the end. Compare that to, say, the Metavirus Crisis, where his good nature through the lens of a child could not comprehend the shades of gray of the situation. And when he tried to do what he considered the right thing, he paid for it. Thankfully, this special never gets that dark. As I said in the intro, this is a lighthearted adventure. It could have easily gone darker with a plot involving, say, the candy being laced with mind-controlled nanobots or something. Instead, the antagonists are just some greedy kids who want all of the candy for themselves. There is an element of danger though. From the point of view of innocent trick-or-treaters, this strange kid who looks a little bit older pops up in front of them with the promise of leading them to places with full-sized candy bars. That brings up some unfortunate implications there. Thank goodness it doesn't go that bad. The worst that happens is the trick-or-treaters losing their candy and having their night ruined. I will say, the monster design is impressive. I could see Eggman building something like this himself. Design-wise, it kinda reminds me of Candlejack from Freakazoid, but with robot arms. The arms themselves, made by Rowdy, an ordinary kid, were impressive enough to catch Tails' attention. I wonder if Rowdy's last name is Octavius. And I hope if Tails makes his own set of artificial limbs, he doesn't get bitter at Sonic and the world and try to take over the multiverse or something. Speaking of Sonic and Tails, I'm torn about their inclusion in this story. On the one hand, I feel like this could have been a pure Chaotix tale. Remove Sonic and Tails, and it would fundamentally be the same story. On the other hand, they did speed up the investigation, which allowed for more Halloween fun time. They didn't completely overshadow the Chaotix, and they provided additional numbers when confronting the kids. Not to mention, we would be deprived of one of Sonic's trademark speeches. Your mileage may vary on that one. The only reason Sonic and Tails got involved was because they were traveling to Seaside City for some trick-or-treating, which gives the impression that it's the only city in Sonic's world that celebrates Halloween. That doesn't feel right. I mean, other places in Sonic's world have to celebrate Halloween, but in reality, it's a contrived reason for these two to get involved in the Chaotix plot. At the very least, I do like how Sonic's escorting Tails on his trick-or-treating venture, even though he's not rocking a costume himself. I mean, why not? He'd look pretty nice in his captain's outfit from the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. When you get down to it, the special is basically an annual story stretched out into a full issue. And that's not a bad thing. I've said this over and over, but I believe annuals are test beds for new talent. And one such talent would go on to write my favorite IDW Sonic story thus far. It's just that the annual slot this year was reserved for a special event. Another trait this story shares with the annuals, well apart from the 2021, is that there are low stakes tales that also provide some additional world building. By that logic, Endless Summer from earlier this year could be considered an extended annual story, but I'm getting a bit off topic. We get to see the many levels of how one can enjoy a holiday. A lot of times it's innocent fun, especially for kids. Sometimes the enjoyment can go too far and be malicious, as in the case of Herschel's gang. In their quest for candy, instead of just doing it the old-fashioned way of going trick-or-treating, they came up with this elaborate scheme to steal candy from unsuspecting trick-or-treaters. They didn't understand the implications of their actions until they're caught and had it explained to them. When they finally understood what they did was wrong, they were quick to apologize. A little too quick for my taste, but we gotta have that happy ending. And they did help give away all the candy to the other kids in town. Then we have those like Vector, who is an adult in case you forgot. He still loves Halloween, even though he's tried and failed to hide it. There's no shame, Vector. Plenty of adults love the Halloween season, as long as it's still in good fun. And I did have fun. In reality, Halloween can be fun for everyone. Some like it for the scares, others use it as an excuse to play dress up and or gorge on candy, and there's also its atmosphere and aesthetic that people enjoy. It can even invoke feelings of tradition and nostalgia, which is why I still enjoy stuff like It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown all these years later. A very Chaotix Halloween may not achieve that same level, but it's a nice outing that doesn't have our heroes dealing with a world-ending threat, and making sure everyone's night is a happy one. And with that, have yourselves a happy and safe Halloween, everyone. I do like how the costumes are nods to classic monsters. Frankenstein's monster, the mummy, the vampire, and the creature from the Black Lagoon. No Wolfman outfit though. I just realized, Sonic could have dressed up as a Wolfman, which would have doubled as a nod to his werehog form. Missed opportunity, guys.